Picture this. It's 1913. Mario Prada just founded a luxury leather goods company in Milan, and he institutes one strict, unwavering rule: absolutely no women allowed in the business. He genuinely believed a woman's place was anywhere but the boardroom. But history has a profound sense of irony, doesn't it? Because when he died, his male heirs, they had zero interest in the company. None. So who saved it from total collapse? His daughter, and later his granddaughter. They didn't just rescue his traditional luggage shop, though. They took it, flipped it, and built a multi-billion-dollar global empire that would literally dictate the future of fashion. It is, without a doubt, the ultimate Prada paradox.
Welcome back to Learning with Pratik. If you're new here, I try to increase neuroplasticity by exploring a new topic every day. I do all the reading and researching so you don't have to. So for today's explainer, we're diving deep into the fascinating evolution of the Prada Group. We're going to look at exactly how a quiet, conservative Milanese leather shop completely subverted our ideas of conventional beauty, how they pioneered the whole athleisure movement way before it was even a trend, and ultimately how they evolved into the massive, data-driven corporate powerhouse they are today.
Part 1. The Unlikely Fashion Heir.
Let's kick things off by tracing the timeline of this unlikely dynasty, because the succession of Prada is honestly a masterclass in unintended consequences. The brand started back in 1913 as Fratelli Prada, which just translates to the Prada brothers. They catered strictly to the European elite, selling these massive, heavy, imported English steamer trucks. But, by 1958, the world was changing fast. People were flying instead of taking steamships, so heavy luggage kind of becoming obsolete. With Mario's son flat out refusing to take over, Luisa Prada, Mario's daughter, had to step up. And she did. She managed to keep the struggling company afloat for a solid 20 years. Then, in 1978, the real paradigm shift happened. Miuccia Prada, Luisa's daughter, officially took the wheel.
The contrast between what her grandfather wanted and what Miuccia actually built could not be sharper. Mario envisioned a highly traditional, male-led luxury brand. Miuccia, she was a bohemian. She had a PhD in political science and had actually pushed back hard against joining the family business in the first place. But when she did finally join, she brought this radically different, deeply intellectual approach to design. Now, she didn't build this empire totally alone. In 1977, she crossed paths with Patrizio Bertelli, an independent leather goods entrepreneur. Bertelli had this sharp, uncompromising business mind that perfectly grounded Miuccia's wild creative genius. Together, they forged an incredible partnership and eventually got married, and really redefined the mechanics of modern luxury.
Part 2. Inventing ugly-chic. So, with this new dynamic duo in charge, Prada started actively dismantling the established rules of the fashion industry. Miuccia's first truly disruptive move hit the scene in 1984. It was the Prada Vela backpack. Now, up until this point, luxury bags were pretty much exclusively made from stiff, pristine, traditional leathers. But Miuccia, she opted for a heavy-duty industrial nylon, literally the exact same stuff used to make military parachutes. It was a synthetic material that just seemed completely out of place in high fashion. But honestly, that was exactly her point. It was unpretentious, highly functional, and featured just a tiny, subtle triangular logo. It whispered luxury instead of screaming it, proving that practical industrial design could actually hold massive cultural prestige. And here's why this matters for us today. Every single time you see functional, durable materials elevated into everyday luxury wear, you are looking at the direct ripple effect of this one specific backpack.
This subversive instinct reached its absolute peak about a decade later. In the mid-90s, high fashion was completely dominated by this hyper-sexualized glamour. Think Tom Ford at Gucci. Prada took a deliberate hard left turn. Their spring/summer 1996 collection debuted what critics famously dubbed ugly-chic. Miuccia deliberately used these murky, stagnant browns and avocado greens, colors that the industry previously thought were completely unsellable. She threw in retro Formica table patterns, stiff librarian-link skirts, and this really unorthodox chunky footwear. It was a masterclass in banal eccentricity. Prada favored intellectual irony over obvious conventional beauty. And by doing that, they caused a seismic shift in fashion that influenced a whole generation of designers and fundamentally changed what consumers wanted. Suddenly, dressing for intellect and comfort, that was the new aspiration.
The philosophy driving this deliberate awkwardness was incredibly thoughtful. Miuccia stated her intent crystal clear, saying, "I didn't want my clothes to make women sexy, but to make them strong." That is a massive distinction. She was designing for the complex female experience, completely throwing out the male gaze. Her clothes were engineered to project dignity, intelligence, and power. It was a staunch, uncompromising rejection of the old-school idea that women only had these one-dimensional, purely decorative roles to play in society.
And that rebellious streak definitely wasn't confined just to runway couture. In 1997, they launched Prada Sport, which we all know now as Linea Rossa. This was basically the original blueprint for modern athleisure. The line masterfully blended sleek, metropolitan tailoring with the highly technical, breathable fabrics you normally find in mountain gear. But what's really fascinating is who actually adopted it. Sure, it was priced for the luxury crowd, but that iconic red stripe was quickly hijacked by 90s underground subcultures. From UK drum and bass ravers to the garage music scene, Linea Rossa gave them something totally unprecedented. It offered high fashion status, but with the absolute breathable functionality you actually needed if you were going to sweat on a dance floor all night long.
Part 3. Expanding the Cultural Empire.
To truly grasp the sheer scope of Prada today, though, we have to look past the clothing entirely. We need to look into the realm of contemporary culture and art. Back in 1993, Miuccia and Patrizio established Fondazione Prada. Now, this wasn't just some clever marketing arm. It was conceived as a dedicated space for pure free thinking. Over in Milan, they took a massive, sprawling former gin distillery from the 1910s and completely transformed it. Working with the renowned architect Rem Koolhaas, they turned it into a striking architectural marvel, including a building coated entirely in 24-karat gold leaf. But make no mistake, this wasn't built as some vanity gallery to show off old handbags. It was established as a serious, rigorous cultural institution.
Inside those expansive spaces, Fondazione Prada actively commissions utopian art projects. They host deep philosophical conferences, complex cinema exhibitions, you name it. The whole goal of the foundation is to engage an international, plural audience. They're proving that a fashion house can meaningfully, and I mean really meaningfully, contribute to global, cultural, and scientific discourse, completely separate from its commercial products and revenue streams.
Part 4. Prada's Sustainable Future.
Fast forward to today, and that bohemian rebellion of the 80s has matured into a formidable, highly optimized corporate machine, and it is deeply, deeply focused on future sustainability. The sheer scale of the modern Prada Group is honestly staggering. To put it into perspective, according to their 2025 sustainability report, the company hit net revenues of 5.7 billion euros. 5.7 billion. They operate 25 of their own manufacturing facilities and employ a global workforce of nearly 18,000 people. And this ecosystem isn't just Prada anymore. It encompasses brands like Miu Miu, Churches, and the recently acquired Versace. We are talking about a massive, meticulously structured industrial operation.
Yet they're taking that exact same rigorous corporate execution and applying it directly to their environmental footprint. By 2025, through aggressively buying certified green electricity and pouring heavy investments into facility-level energy efficiency, the Prada Group saw a dramatic 76% drop in their Scope 1 and Scope 2 greenhouse gas emissions. That means a massive reduction in the direct emissions from the facilities they own and the energy they buy to run them. This vastly outpaces the near-term targets validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative. This kind of shift is a huge deal. It sets a powerful precedent that is fundamentally altering how entire global supply chains approach sustainable manufacturing.
And it goes way beyond just minimizing emissions. The company is actively embedding circular thinking throughout their entire value chain. You look at initiatives like Miu Miu Upcycled or the Prada Re-Nylon program, and they are systematically swapping out virgin materials for regenerated, much lower impact alternatives. It's a concrete, systemic shift towards circularity, both in the products themselves and how they're made. It proves that sustainable luxury is no longer just some theoretical buzzword. It's a heavily monitored corporate reality.
Which brings us right back to the ultimate paradox of the Prada story. Can true intellectual rebellion still exist when you're operating at a 5.7 billion euro scale? Or is sustainable luxury by its very definition just the ultimate oxymoron? It's this really fascinating tension between an anti-establishment origin and a hyper-optimized present. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, especially if you have something particular in mind. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow we open a different page. Until then, Pratik out.